Previously on Sports for Beginners, the podcast, Season 5, Episode 12 episode series, PWHL Recap of the draft class, that is. We have spoken about PWHL Hamilton, the Vancouver Golden Eyes. We have talked about PWHL Hamilton, the Vancouver Golden Eyes, the Minnesota Frost, the Seattle Torrent, and the Ottawa Charge. We still have teams like the Toronto Scepters, PWHL Detroit, PWHL Las Vegas, PWHL San Jose, and of course, your 2026 PWHL champions, the Walter Cup champions themselves, Montreal Victoire. Today, the pit stop on the 12-episode series stops in Toronto to get a look at the draft class of 2026 for the Toronto Scepters. I'm Scott McGregor. Let's get this party started. Welcome to Sports for Beginners. This is the show where I cover the Pittsburgh Penguins, Toronto Blue Jays, and take you on a journey through the world of sports. From the fans' perspective, here is your host, Scott McGregor. Let's have some fun. Hey there, PWHL hockey fans. Hey there, Sports for Beginners fans as well. Welcome to episode 17 of season number 5, the continuation of our 12-episode PWHL Draft Class Look At, where we are talking from Vancouver Golden Eyes all the way over to the other 3 of 4 clubs that have joined the league and will make their inaugural season debut in the 2026-2027 schedule. We started off this series with the Vancouver Golden Eyes. Then we decided to go to Minnesota to talk about the Minnesota Frost. From there, we went to Seattle, PWHL Hamilton. We have also spoken about the Ottawa Charge, the Boston Fleet, and of course, most recently, the New York Sirens. Still to come, we have PWHL Detroit, PWHL Las Vegas, PWHL San Jose, and after this episode, as far as the Canadian side is concerned, the Montreal Victoire. But to get to the Montreal Victoire, first, we got to get through the Toronto Scepters. A little bit of breaking news for you here. The Toronto Scepters have named a head coach. They have named a new head coach. Say hello, Toronto, to Pascal Rihim, who was named the head coach of the Toronto Centers for 2 seasons. So we have a new coach behind the bench for the Scepters, and that is Pascal Rihim. Again, Pascal, if I pronounced the last name wrong, my sincerest apologies. But with that said, let's look at the draft class you have to work with here. Before we get down to picks 1 through 3, let's give you a look at the overall pick for the Toronto Scepters. They would pick 68th overall in the 6th and final round of the draft, 56th overall in round 5, 44th overall in round number 4. In round number 1, they would pick 8th overall. Round 2, they would select 20th overall. And in round number 3, to round it out, the Toronto Scepters wind up with the 32nd overall pick in the draft for 2026. And now, to reveal who the first 3 selections for the Toronto Scepters were, as we have now done 6 teams, on to team number 7, which is the Toronto Scepters. A total of 72 players were selected by the PWHL's 12 teams in the league during the 6-round process. All right, round 1 selection for the Toronto Scepters, as we dive right in. That was a forward that they selected in Kristen Sims, a forward out of the University of Wisconsin from a place called Plymouth, Milwaukee. I think it's from Milwaukee. Anyways, let's just go by the university. Apologies if I did pronounce that wrong. In round number 2, the Toronto Scepters would select Jamie Nielsen with the 20th pick in the 2026 overall draft for the PWHL draft. And in the third and final selection for the Toronto Scepters, from rounds 1 through 3, I should say, as we still have 4, 5, and 6 to get to, the final pick that we are going to get to in this segment, the third round pick, with the 32nd pick, the Toronto Scepters selected defender out of Ohio State, Fort St. John, BC, British Columbia, I should say. Brooke Disher was the selection in round number 3. So to start off Toronto's draft selections, they drafted 2 forwards and a defenseman. We will get to the other forwards and defensemen that were selected in rounds 4 through 6 in just a moment. But I want to talk about a few things on this episode as far as baseball is concerned, and I will touch a little bit on the WPBL where we sit right now in a quick little break from hockey, as we have done over the course of this 12-episode series. So be sure to stick with us for that. That is coming your way next, right after a quick word from our good friends over at the Musa Slobodian Network and our good friends over at Sienna T Radio, making your day brighter one song at a time. Episode 17, Season 5 of Sports for Beginners, continuation of the 2026 PWHL Draft Class Recap Series, continues shortly. Don't go anywhere. There's more great conversations and content right around the corner. Sports for Beginners will be right back in a moment.
Hey Allie, did you know we have a books panel?
I did not know that. When is it?
It takes place on the last Friday of each month at 7:30 p.m. Eastern.
Where we have fun and engaging conversations.
About a book that one of the panelists picks.
So, how can I learn more about the show?
To learn more, please visit bookspanel.ca. While you're there, subscribe to the newsletter so you never miss an update. Besides, it's free. Enter your email and hit subscribe.
The Books Pen is part of the Musa Slobodian Network, where good conversations happen.
To learn more about the network, please visit themusaslobodiannetwork.ca. While you're over there, hit subscribe so you never miss a network update. Enter your email and hit subscribe.
Sienna T Radio will never give you up. They will never let you down, nor will they run around or desert you. So join Nick Astley for The Melting Pot every Saturday on Sienna T Radio. Hang on a minute. He's not Nick Astley. Oh, jings, I've done it wrong. Anyway, just join Nick for The Melting Pot on Sienna T Radio.
Hi, Scott. It's Ali here. I just wanted to mention that I'm really enjoying the show, and I'm really enjoying what you're putting together. And I wanted to just say I'm enjoying being a part of it as well. So please keep up the phenomenal work, and make sure you guys keep this podcast going because it really suits you well.
Have you ever wanted a talk show that discusses news, politics, the show's favorite sports teams, as well as sports media and broadcasting? Check out The Ali Musa Show, where we discuss these topics in a single package. To learn more about the show, please visit thealimusashow.ca. While you're over there, subscribe to the newsletter so you never miss an update. Besides, it's free. Enter your email address and hit subscribe.
The Ali Musa Show is part of the Musa Slobodian Network, where good conversations happen. To learn more about the network, please visit themusaslobodiannetwork.ca. While you're there, subscribe so you never miss a network update. Enter your email and hit subscribe.
Hello fans, it's Scott McGregor, host of Sports for Beginners, the podcast, and Bills Postgame. Join us this season, both the day after the game and the day before the game, or day of the game, for some Bills postgame / pregame before they kick off action, with tons of great content for you to enjoy. It all kicks off in week 1, so be sure to check out the Buffalo Bills schedule. And new this year, we're going to try our best to get you some preseason action. Get us a look at the action between the Buffalo Bills and their preseason opponents. You won't want to miss it. It all happens exclusively on Sports for Beginners, the podcast, coming your way this summer. You won't want to miss it. Let's go, Bills. Let's go, Bills Mafia. It's coming your way. Don't miss it.
Now, let's take you back to the action. To the rink and field we go. We find Scott McGregor.
All right, folks, welcome back to the program, episode 17, season 5 of Sports for Beginners. My name is Scott McGregor, your host of the program. We are touching on team number 7 of 12 from our PWHL 2026 Draft Class Recap. Earlier on in the series, we talked about the Vancouver Golden Eyes, the Ottawa Charge, the Seattle Torrent, the two-time champion Minnesota Frost, one of the newcomers in PWHL Hamilton, and most recently, going back to the United States side of things, we talked about the Boston Fleet, and we also talked about the New York Sirens. So now we're back on the Canadian side, looking at the Toronto side of things. In case you missed it earlier, as of June 10, 2026, the Professional Women's Hockey League head coach of the Toronto Scepters will be Pascal Rihim, who was named the head coach on that day. He was most recently an assistant coach with the Bridgeport Islanders of the AHL, before the New York Islanders affiliate team moved to Hamilton for 2 seasons. Of course, they have moved to Hamilton after those 2 seasons, but it should be important to note that according to our quote we got from General Manager of the Scepters, Gina Kingsbury, she said, "We are excited to welcome Pascal to the Toronto Scepters as our new head coach. Pascal brings a fresh perspective, a new voice, and a valuable professional experience to our organization. Throughout our search process, it was important for us to find a coach who could build meaningful relationships while also creating an environment that challenges players to grow and perform at the highest level." All right, we'll talk more about that in a minute. And I was actually present at this game, but we're highlighting the Blue Jays for a second, because apparently there is a way to get a 4th out in baseball. Listen to this. I mean, I still don't quite understand it, but after seeing what's been posted and what's been read about and everything in between, you have a clear idea of what is actually going on. So here you go. The Red Sox and the Jays opened up a series last night. At the time of we are recording this, they are getting ready for Game 2, by the way, which goes tonight at 7:07 p.m. But by the time you hear this, the series most likely will be done. But that's besides the point. Per good buddy Keegan Matheson of MLB, 3 big questions were to be answered. One big question, did the run count? How many outs were there? Was another question. For 15 minutes following the end of the top of the 7th inning of the Blue Jays' 2-1 win over the Boston Red Sox, which was the final score in the series opener on Monday night at Rogers Center, everyone in both dugouts, the Red Sox and the Blue Jays, was asking the questions I just mentioned. Depending on which dugout you were in, you had different answers. Let's set the scene step by step, which led to the chaos and the Red Sox being awarded a run long after touching home plate, I should say. So, in the first play, with runners on first and second and nobody out, Nick Sogard of the Red Sox shot a hard low liner to Vladimir Guerrero Jr. at first base. The ball hit the ground, though Vladimir Guerrero Jr. was able to throw to Andres Jimenez, the shortstop at the time, at second base for the first out of the inning, allowing Sogard to reach first and Anthony Siegler to advance to third on the play. The Red Sox at this time were down 2-0. The confusion part, the scoreboard displayed 2 outs, and the play was also announced to the media as a double play at the time. Now, typically in a double play, the inning is over if it's an inning-ending play, but let's read the final play. Ceddanne Rafaela flew out to center. The center fielder at the time was Brett Bateman, but there seemed to be confusion among players on both sides about whether that was out number 2 or out number 3. Bateman lobbed the ball back in, which eventually made it to first base where Vladimir Guerrero Jr. tagged the bag. It felt like something was off, and boy did it ever. This is when the meetings between the umpiring crew and both managers of the Red Sox, the interim manager Chad Tracy and Toronto's manager John Schneider, began. The players were getting involved too, with Max Scherzer eager to share his opinion on the matter from the Blue Jays dugout. The question at the center of the confusion was whether the runner from third scored and whether that run would ultimately count. This was especially confusing on a play where some players seemed to be under different impressions about the number of outs. Umpire crew chief Chris G announced, "What we have here is a time play, meaning when the third out was made at third base, I should say first base, because it was made at first base, just to clarify there, with the runner not tagging up, the runner that was on third also did not tag, but crossed home plate before the third out was made at first base. So, as the crew chief said, and it goes on, we are going to New York to do a rules check." He then proceeded to tell everyone after the 15-minute delay, after calling New York and getting it all straightened out, the run is going to score end of the inning, 2 runs for Toronto, 1 run for Boston. So this has happened before. Most recent dates from Keegan's article include April 12, 2009, when the Dodgers were facing the Diamondbacks, and also just a few years ago on June 29th, 2022, during a Pirates and Nationals game. Crew chief umpire Chris G told a poll reporter following the game, both runners for Boston, thinking there were 2 outs, just took off. When the second out was made, now we have 2 runners who have failed to return and tag up correctly. At that time, the guy from third had crossed home plate, and the guy who was at first was standing at second. Toronto knew he hadn't tagged up and threw to first base to make the third out. Well, that's a time play, meaning it's not a force play. If it's a force play, the run does not score automatically. If it's a time play, meaning was the out made before or after the runner was across home plate. In this case, the runner crossed before the appeal play was made at first. In this play, it's what you call an apparent fourth out. As the rule states, as we can see here, since Toronto's fielders had left the field of play, meaning they'd all crossed the third base line, they were no longer allowed to appeal to third base, which would have been necessary to stop that run from scoring. Instead, the Blue Jays had only appealed to first base by the time the play was considered to be over, and under Rule 5.9C4, that appeal to first took precedent at the time, or on the time play, I should say. Charles McAdoo told Sportsnet's Hazel May on the play, "It didn't cross my mind until I walked into the dugout remembering that the timing play exists." And that was a situation where it came into play. And right when I walked into the dugout, I was like, darn it, I missed it. Yeah, you did. Tracy said on the play, as he had never seen a fourth out play called, he called it fortunate for Boston. But he said, and Matt Betts also contributed to this report, Tracy said, "We've got to know there's one out regardless of what's on the board or not." Yes, it was a very weird situation where players on both sides appeared to be confused on the outs. John Schneider told reporters, "They told me that all of my players were across the third base line before Charlie Ramos, the home plate umpire, waves off the run, which I 100% disagree with. I don't know if Vlad is that fast. After he got the ball at first, we weren't given the opportunity to appeal to third. Going forward, when that play happens again in the next 100 years, if it's us, we will record the lead out at third. That's the best I got." That was what John Schneider said when we look at what the managers said. Now, ultimately, because of this rule, the ruling didn't impact the outcome of the game, which the Blue Jays won 2-1 to open the series. But the Red Sox were given a run because of what happened with the violation. So, just to clarify, because of this violation of appealing when the play was already done, well, let's just say the appeal must be made before the defensive team leaves the field and goes down to, and get ready for this, they go down to either the third base line or the first base line, depending on who the defensive team at the time of the play is. In this case, it was Toronto. According to the MLB rulebook, under that article, if the appeal is not made at such time, that's pretty much the end of the inning. If the appeal is made, there's a possibility that the run will not score for the Boston Red Sox at that time. So a very, 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 very interesting turn of events at Rogers Center last night. Hoping it doesn't happen again tonight at the time we are recording this, but you never can be too sure. Oh, by the way, while we're still talking about MLB, because it took a while to talk about it, and I will leave a link post on MLB in our description of the episode if we can get it up there. But to run things down for you, also in action on that day were the Mets and the Braves, the Philadelphia Phillies and the Cardinals, the Orioles and the Twins. I'm not going to run over every game here, but at least a few games. The Mets beat the Braves 8-5. The Orioles lost 9-5 to the Twins. The Philadelphia Phillies defeated the Cardinals 6-5. The Texas Rangers went into extra innings and beat the Angels 4-1. And one other game that we're going to get to among the games that we're playing out, the Diamondbacks completely shut out the Colorado Rockies 9-0 to close things out. All right, folks, unfortunately, we don't have time to go to the WPBL, but that's okay. we'll get there another time. But one thing I will bring up on that is where we sit heading into tomorrow's start of week 3 action. Right now, the Queens are on top in that league standings with 3 wins and 1 loss. Both the Firebells and the Heights have 2 wins and 2 losses. And we also have the Boston Hunters, who right now sit in the last spot at a record 1-3 with 1 win and 3 losses. So the team that was undefeated is undefeated no more, and that is the Los Angeles Queens. But they still have 3 wins, and they are the only team that have won 3 games, 8 games into their season, their inaugural season, getting set to do battle against the Firebells once again, this time tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 6:30 p.m. Central Time, which is the local time. All right, folks, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we round out things with Toronto Scepters, is round out the total draft class, and we'll close it up from there. But with that being said, man, did MLB take up most of our time. Did the MLB take up most of our time with that one call from the Red Sox game? Man, did that take up most of our time here. All right, we'll take a break, come back, and get back to hockey action from this draft class in just a little bit. Stay with us.
Don't go anywhere. There's more great conversations and content right around the corner. Sports for Beginners will be right back in a moment.
Take another look with Gerda Felix and Melanie Taddeo Malo, 2 powerful women of diverse backgrounds having genuine, unique, and uncomfortable conversations that everyone needs to have. Join Melanie and Gerda for conversations about what is missing from human connections.
Have you ever wondered about the books we've been reading throughout the week?
Are you looking for friendly banter and technology tips at the same time?
Then you've come to the right place.
Check out The Ally and McCara Show. It airs live on Sunday afternoons at 3:30 p.m. Eastern.
Until spring. In the spring, we'll switch back to Mondays.
To learn more about the show, please visit theallyandmccarashow.ca.
While you're there, subscribe to the newsletter so you never miss an update. And besides, it's free.
Enter your email address and hit subscribe.
The Ally and McCara Show is part of the Musa Slobodian Network, where good conversations happen.
To learn more about the network, please visit themusaslobodiannetwork.ca.
Enter your email and hit subscribe so you never miss network updates.
I wonder if I could make it. It's almost getting to 8:00 p.m. and I am still a few more steps away from home to get to my computer to listen to CNT Radio's Cosmopolitan Culture Club. The best of the best music from around the world. Can't wait! I think I made it! CNT Radio, making your day brighter, one song at a time. Now, let's take you back to the action. To the rink and field we go. We find Scott McGregor.
All right, welcome back, folks. Episode 17, Season 5 of Sports for Beginners, the podcast, talking about the Toronto Scepters as we continue our coverage of the 2026 PWHL Draft Class. In case you have missed it over the course of our program, we have talked about the Vancouver Golden Knights, the Minnesota Frost, the Seattle Torrent, the Boston Fleet, PWHL Hamilton, as well as the New York Sirens, and of course, to add to that, the Ottawa Charge. We still have to do, from the Canadian side, the team we are currently doing, the Toronto Scepters, and of course, we have to do PWHL Detroit, Montreal Victoire, PWHL Las Vegas, and PWHL San Jose. Hence why this is a 12-episode series. But quickly here, before we get back into the action, rounds 4 through 6 coming up in just a few seconds, or a few minutes rather, we are going to get you in on a little bit of programming news before we get there. Continuing with our Toronto Scepters draft class look at via my notes. And of course, I also have the website open here as well. But all that being said, we will get to that in just a moment. One thing we want to get into quickly is this Sunday or Monday, by the time you hear this show, and of course, by the time you hear that program, Bills post-game will be back in action. That's right. I'm back in the saddle to talk Bills preseason action. We will be starting off our preseason action by just doing 1 or 2 weeks, starting off with either week 2 or week 1, which is this week on Saturday, as the Buffalo Bills prepare for battle against the Carolina Panthers in the first preseason stint in former offensive coordinator Joe Brady's first year as a head coach of the Buffalo Bills. All the usual stuff you see in the regular season, except for previewing the week ahead, if we are not able to get to it, will be in attendance on that show. We will be doing it from first half to second half and everything in between. So don't miss it. Make sure that you're subscribed. And since we are talking about that, I would love it if you took a second to rate, review, and share the podcast. But right now, let's get back to the meat of the episode here, why it's part of our PWHL 2026 Draft Class 12-episode series. 12 teams, 12 draft classes. We are on draft class number 7, and as I mentioned earlier on, we have done Vancouver Golden Knights, Seattle Torrent, Minnesota Frost, Boston Fleet, New York Sirens, Ottawa Charge, as well as PWHL Hamilton. And following the Sirens recap, by the way, is this class, the Toronto Scepters. Stay tuned to the end of the episode to find out who is up next after the Toronto Scepters. Spoiler alert, it could be one of the 3 of the new 4 teams, I should say, that have joined the league. We've done one of the 4. We could do another one after we go over Toronto's draft class. And speaking of that, we will round out everything from round 1 to 6 once we are through with the rounds 4 through 6 picks. Let's get that started right now. As you probably already know, if you've heard from the beginning of the show, the Toronto Scepters have selected 8th overall in the first round forward Kristen Sims out of the University of Wisconsin. They then proceeded to draft forward Jamie Nelson, 20th overall, out of University of Minnesota. In the third round, they selected Brooke Disher, defender from Ohio State University, and that was with their 32nd pick overall. Now that we're into round 4 through 6, we go leading off with the 45th pick in the 2026, 44th pick, in the 2026 PWHL draft. And the Toronto Scepters would select forward from Princeton University, Jane K. I wasn't going to really take an opportunity to try and pronounce the last name there. So Jane, I just wanted to use the first letter of the last name just to keep me out of pronunciation issues. So hopefully you guys appreciate that. Again, if I pronounce any player's name wrong, or coach, or referee, or whatever it may be, I sincerely apologize. Just want to make sure I get that right there. Moving on from round 4 to round 5, where the pick coming in at number 56 overall for Toronto, and with the 56th pick of the 2026 PWHL Draft, the Toronto Scepters select Emerson O'Leary, forward out of Princeton University from South Miami, I believe, or Massachusetts. Anyways, the point is, the person is a forward from Princeton University. With that said, we move on to round 6, the final round, and our final selection for the Toronto Scepters, which was pick number 68 overall, where they would select defender from Cornell University, hailing from Mississauga, Ontario. Give it up for Alyssa R. Hopefully I have that right. Alyssa, if I pronounced the part of the last name wrong, my sincerest apologies. But there you have it. Kristen Sims at number 8 overall in the first round. At number 20th overall in the second round, Jamie Nelson. At number 32 overall, Brooke Disher, defender. Third round pick, by the way. Fourth round pick number 44 overall, Jane Kay, forward out of Princeton University. Also out of Princeton University, coming in at pick number 56 overall and in the 5th round, Emerson O'Leary from Princeton University. And last but certainly not least, defender, coming in at pick number 68 overall, Alyssa Regalio. Hopefully, okay, let's just go with Alyssa R. Sorry, Alyssa, I'm trying my best to get the name right. For a person that's from Mississauga, Ontario, I should be able to pronounce the name right, but I kind of fell off my horse, shall we say. Anyways, it is important to know, as we've stated over the course of this episode and our episodes before that, a total of 72 players were selected by the league's 12 teams during a 6-round process. Okay, folks, quick little MLB update from the Tuesday part of our program that we started recording on. Not all the games will be covered here, but a couple of them will be in the coverage here. Beginning in Miami, where the Miami Marlins defeated Paul Skeens and the Pittsburgh Pirates by a final score of 2-0. In Detroit, the Guardians fell 6-4 to the Tigers. In Toronto overcomes Boston once again and wins that game 5-3. They have now won the first 2 games of a 4-game set against the Red Sox. The Cubs beat the Nationals 8-6. The Yankees win. They get the victory over the Mariners 4-1. The Mets fell to the Braves 4-0. The White Sox go to extra innings, but it is the Reds who come out on top 5-4. And the Orioles, who by the way are going to be playing by the time you hear this show, and also by the time it's done. Of course, by the time it's done, the game might be final, but at 1:40 p.m. Eastern today, they will be playing another game against the Minnesota Twins. Right now, as we're talking MLB, before we go back to hockey for just another few seconds, let's give you a look at the MLB standings. Reminder, as we speak, this is where we sit. Right now in the American League Division, the Blue Jays are 16 games out of their division race. But if you're not worried about that, then I got some good news for you as far as the wild card is concerned. But anything can happen over the course of the next couple of hours, as we are now on Wednesday, August 12th, 2026. This show started being recorded on Tuesday, August 11th, 2026, and is continuing its recording here on August 12th, 2026. Anyways, that's besides the point. What's the good news for the Blue Jays? Well, for 2 times, Tuesday and Monday and yesterday, the Blue Jays entered the day 3.5 games out of the wild card. Each time they won before the day was through, the Blue Jays were 3 games back. Now, after Tuesday's results ended, the Blue Jays, with a Texas Rangers loss, improved to 2.5 games out of the wild card in the American League. The Baltimore Orioles, who won the Baltimore Orioles, who won yesterday and play this afternoon as we speak, also improved, as well as Cleveland improved. Both Cleveland and Baltimore are 2 games out of the wild card. The Twins are half a game out of the wild card. Well, actually, 1.5 games out of the wild card, to be more specific. Detroit, however, is half a game out of the wild card. And the 3 wild cards for the American League are the New York Yankees, who are plus 7.5 games up in the wild card. The Red Sox, who the Blue Jays are playing right now, are only plus 4.5 heading in to tonight's contest, their 3rd of 4 against the Blue Jays. And the other wild card is the Texas Rangers, who right now do not have any games up on anybody as far as UCGB is concerned. Well, they technically do have half a game up on Detroit, since Detroit is only 0.5 out of the wild card. So nothing is set in stone yet. Maybe it's a different story in the National League, but I wouldn't lose hope just yet. I mean, if you're a team at the very bottom in the AL or even in the NL, maybe we can start focusing on 2027. But I wouldn't lose hope just yet. Remember, you still got September of this year, so I wouldn't lose hope yet. There's probably still hope. All right, with that said, let's get down to one of my favorite parts of doing this series as we wrap it up here. Who is next for our coverage of PWHL action in the 2000 PWHL Draft Class Series Recap? Well, just to get the original 6 out of the way, now that we have Vancouver and Seattle out of the way, before we wrap up the final 3 of the 4 draft classes that are going to begin play come 2026-2027's start time season, we are going to take a look at the draft class for this year's PWHL champions. I should say Walter Cup champions. As you may remember, last year we had our first ever all-Canadian clash in the Walter Cup and in PWHL history. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. The champs are on deck on our next episode. We are going to be talking about the Montreal Victoire on the next episode of Sports for Beginners. That will be episode 18, as we continue to await our interview with Philip Hooversmoot, who we are in communications with, and I can't wait for that interview to get rolling. But until then, we've got Bills football preseason-wise coming up this weekend, and we've got Bills post-game returning this weekend as well. And we've also got our series draft classes to keep us occupied. On deck, Montreal Victoire, the draft class of 2026 for the 2025-2026 Walter Cup champions, Montreal Victoire. We are going to get down to that on the next episode. But for now, I can't wait for Buffalo football to return. Regardless of the backlash that they are getting, we will see what happens with their new stadium, new season, new coach, new stadium. It's a lot of new. But I am also looking forward to continuing our series of professional women's hockey draft class. And that will continue with on deck once we are done here. The Montreal Victoire are coming up. The Victoire are coming up on the next episode of Sports for Beginners. 7 teams down, 5 teams to go out of 12. And soon that will be 4 teams to go when we get through the Montreal Victoire. And the final 4 are really the final 3, because right now all we have left to do is, after Montreal, all we have left is PWHL Las Vegas, PWHL Detroit, and PWHL San Jose. For now, that is it for this one. Thank you very much for joining us. Would love it if you took a second to rate, review, and share the podcast. Looking forward to having you back in the studio when we talk champions draft class That's right, we're talking Victoire next time on the show. So would love to have you there. But for now, we will see you then and talk soon. Enjoy the action, and we will talk to you next week. Victoire Draft Class is next, and it comes your way next week. So long for now. Thank you so much for listening to Sports for Beginners. If you would like to learn more about the show, you can visit the podcast Facebook page or visit the official website. You can also send us an email at sportsforbeginnerspodcast8231@gmail.com. As we always remind you, it is not goodbye, it is until next time.